Welcome back to the show. I am your host, Kyle, and I'm going to be talking about the new Nicolas Cage movie, Dream Scenario. It's the latest. Well, I guess it isn't exactly the latest A24 film. I think the latest A24 film by the by the time this goes out will be the the Iron Claw, but whatever. Um, so yeah, Dream Scenario. It is a new A24 produced film, and it is about a character named Paul Matthews, played by Nicolas Cage. Now, Paul should be living the high life as he has a beautiful wife named Janet, played by Julian Nicholson. He has two beautiful daughters, he has a nice house, and he has tenure as a professor of evolutionary biology. Now, he wishes to publish a book and to see his name up in lights, and he's constantly worried about what people think of him. However, the sad truth is that nobody thinks much of him at all. He is altogether unremarkable, but that's not going to be for very long. Because a bizarre thing occurs when Paul begins to appear as a passive observer in people's dreams. First, it's people he knows, his daughters and a few of his students. Then, it's friends of friends, and before long, it becomes a worldwide phenomenon. Now, nobody can explain it, but for once, Paul feels special, and he stands out from the crowd as an international celebrity for the first time in his life. But what satisfaction is there in being famous purely for being famous? But as people's dreams and Paul's role in those dreams begins to take a darker, much more horrific turn, so does Paul's notoriety. He goes from being really the man of everyone's dreams to the man of their nightmares. Now, he's no longer just an oddity, but he's the source of unending trauma and terror. Now, he becomes a pariah in his personal and professional life, and he begins to be hated for something which he has no control over. Now, this man who just wished to be known is getting everything he ever wanted, and it is horrible. So, this is based somewhat on a true story, or at least it's based on one which was reported on. It turned out to be a hoax. But Dream Scenario is written and directed by Christopher Borgley. Now, we've all heard anecdotes, perhaps even experienced it ourselves, of someone having a less than flattering dream about their partner. They then wake up and they blame that partner for the actions of their dream counterpart. Now, as a black comedy, Dream Scenario takes a satirical look at parasocial relationships, mimetic celebrity, and the effects of cancel culture. Now, as I said, the film is presented by A24, who brought us last year's best film for the Academy Awards, Everything Everywhere All at Once. And like many of their films, it's a wild one. It's one which has a few bumpy moments which don't quite gel as well as others, but it works well showing Paul as this altogether self obsessed, narcissistic man. One who's more happy to take advantage of his Faustian bargain, but he doesn't really think about the negative consequences of that celebrity until it's too late. Now, at the same time, the film is somewhat of an indictment of the general love hate cycle that society has towards modern celebrities. We sort of love these people for no reason, but can detest their guts for equally little cause. Social media celebrities, just basically people that are stars right now, and that's kind of what this movie takes a little bit of a look at. Uh, People begin to blame and shun the people at one point that they loved, they begin to shun them with the exact same gusto as they embraced them with just the day before. And this twisted societal aspect of the film, it really feels very much like something from a Charlie Kaufman or an Ari Aster film. Ari Aster being the director of Beau is Afraid and Midsummer. And Ari Aster, he actually served as producer here. Originally, he was tied to direct the film, but then Christopher Borgli decided to direct his own script and kind of went in a slightly different direction. Apparently, Adam Sandler was going to originally be the star of this film, but Borgli wanted Nicolas Cage, and yeah, Nicolas Cage fits the film really well. Cage, he remains one of the most interesting actors working today. Dream Scenario was the sixth film that he made, which was released in originally in 2023. And while many of his films are best left forgotten, his wide variety of work really lands to some impressive gems. I mean, there's a lot of actors of his caliber who do the straight to DVD movies, but very few of them have films such as Dream Scenario or Pig, or even things like Color Out of Space or Willy's Wonderland. Like very few actors who do the direct to DVD action film cheap schlock movies. Very few of them have really interesting movies like this that they are putting out at the exact same time. And uh, here, I mean, this really is one of his jams. Here, Nicolas Cage delivers an even mix of comedic silliness with the internal drama of an insecure man going through basically a midlife crisis. And watching Cage play this character, deep down, we know that he doesn't deserve the misfortune which is happening, but we can't help but laugh at it. It is watching the misfortune that befalls Paul Matthews is unfortunately quite amusing, as little as he deserves it. But it is just a funny movie to watch. And the quirky story, it flows really well, keeping our interest, and we're shown both the highs and lows of these unexplained nightly phantasms that they're having on not just Paul, but the whole Matthews family itself. Borgley's script dedicates an adequate amount of time to show the effects that this sort of cancel culture has on people, not just on the actual person that's being cancelled, but also on their families and kind of how it destroys that internal bond between people. And it also shows, interestingly, it shows Paul's life as like his opportunities in life begin to close around him. He becomes somewhat of a pawn in a culture war, which he never had any interest in. There's a, quite a shift between when there's talk about, oh yeah, we'll be able to get you on this TV show. Uh, maybe we can get Barack Obama to dream about you, and then we can use that to sell Sprite or something like that. But then when things start going the other way, they're talking about getting him on Joe Rogan and more the completely opposite side of the political spectrum. And it's something that Paul never had any interest in, but it's something that he is now pretty much being forced into being a part of. And that was really interesting. But sadly, like some other A24 productions, Dream Scenario feels underwhelming in its punchline, and it doesn't really stick a landing very well. Uh, Borgley, as a screenwriter, he seems to scramble in wrapping up the story, and really in the last 15 minutes or so, he introduces several themes and pseudosciences which they're touching or funny to watch. Uh, the movie tries to start really having a real heart to it about the relationship between Paul and Janet, and it's touching to watch, but it's it feels so kind of out of place with the rest of the film that even though this is a relatively short movie, it's only 102 minutes, it still feels like it's stretched its core premise too far. Just pretty much just because of how murky the last 10 or 15 minutes of the film is. But Dream Scenario, it's a well acted, intelligent little curiosity of a film, and Nicolas Cage shines here, removed from the high energy, over the top performances that he's become known for. He delivers a much more subdued, intense, personal, human character piece, kind of similar to his work in Adaptation. Speaking of Charlie Kaufman. But despite losing steam in its tail end, Dream Scenario remains an interesting and at times hilarious experience. And so I would give this 4 out of 5. I did quite enjoy the film. It was an interesting watch, but as I say, unfortunately, it didn't really quite stick the landing, and that's a problem that I find that a lot of the more bizarre A24 films have. But yep, I'd highly recommend it. Recommend checking it out, and it should be in cinemas right now.